back to part 3. It's time. It's time to wind up the story around the light and shadow of coaching. It's time to look at the powers and pitfalls of coaching mastery and what coach development can do to keep up with building knowledge, integrating wisdom, and letting go of wanting to know what the future will bring. Because, as Mahatma Gandhi said, the future depends on what we do now. In this part 3, our guiding question is, what's the strategic scaffolding of our coaching mastery? This question invites us to reflect. What is our deep intention when we coach? How do we embrace what works and what does not work well in our practice? How do we integrate who we are becoming as coaches? Miles Davis once said, we need to make each other happen. Mastery, so to speak, is openness to being impacted by the other. Our clients, their contexts. That's what is called upward feedback elsewhere in leadership. And it's also about vulnerability. Are we truly okay with being vulnerable as coaches? Are we modest rather than coach to be a hero? Are we really tapping into our inherent relational skills to stop our coaching world from disintegrating and to keep it from being separate from other worlds? We know that human cells collaborate, or else they develop cancer. How well are we collaborating as part of the strategic scaffolding of our coaching mastery? I have at least 5 observations before giving others the stage to reflect coaching mastery with you. First, it takes exploring to what extent we are anxious to create emotional immunity, to stave off, dive through, or live with the competitive and negative worlds around us. Anxiety is produced through organizations, society, and systems. And that's easy, because humans have a negative bias. But if we coaches had love rather than anxiety speaking through our mastery, what would love have us do? What would our higher self be calling us to master really? Second, can we see how we are buried in others, but that we work in silos as if we owned it? We do the politics of personal prison as coaches. It is me being a great coach and having great clients. We are having a hard time reducing ourselves to zero and get over ourselves to serve something bigger. The me business in coaching is killing us as we are killing nature, and we're noticing it. The point is that change comes through the heart, not the brain. So while we are doing a lot of thinking around our coaching, can we really think ourselves into acting? We may need to take time for mourning the politics of me in our coaching, but do we take the time for the art and craft of coaching in a world that knows only one thing: faster, bigger, higher? Third, we are kind people, but in crisis, we tend to not be kind. The truth is that kindness is the number 1 antidote to stress. We gear up though and want to show mastery and get caught up in stress. We ought not to be like this and we ought not to be like that. What are we energizing with our thoughts? Or we have excuses for everything and we end up in attitudinal gravity and righteousness. We all want to sell our program, our coaching, and end up in discussions about what coaching mastery should be or should not be. How hypocritical are we? Our decisions cast the long shadows of tomorrow. How well connected are we coaches to our reality, or other realities? How masterful is our long-term decision-taking in our practice? Fourth, there is a paradox about power. Power of coaching, or any power. Power rather shows as masculine, and we miss the feminine quality of it. Normally, masculine energy will show in fear of scarcity, when actually there is abundance. On the other hand, the feminine energy of power shows when we can see ourselves as part of a greater whole, because we are not separate experiences. So why do we think we are separate from dust when we came from it in the first place, and we will turn into it in a second place? Let's say we are dust with consciousness, at least biochemically speaking. What else are we in our humanity? What else are we in our mastery? Fifth, we produce powerful questions as part of our coaching mastery. We speak innovation. We enable clients to have future foresight. And we expand horizons of thinking. But what happens when change will have been achieved? What challenges will that pose for people? There is always a collective and contextual development to everything. Where is the coach after the change has been achieved? Does our mastery include that? What happens to context, environment, and the stakeholders of coaching?